You ever wonder what a bat sees when it uses echolocation? I have no idea, but the DePaul University students that made this game gave us an imaginative interpretation of it. Devil's Tuning Fork is a 2009 indie game developed by students at DePaul University. They competed in the Independent Games Festival back in 2010 and ended up being finalists for the Student Game Award at the GDC that same year. They didn't win, but it hardly matters because we're here today to talk about what they did right, which I'd say is primarily their innovative approach to visual design. The first thing you're going to notice is there's a wild art style going on here. You have a pitch dark world that lights up with bands of color that travel and pulse across the environment. The core mechanic is echolocation, the idea of using sound waves to visualize the world around you. These days, we've got so many studios and publishers throwing insane amounts of money at photorealistic graphics that something like this game is refreshing, I think, for the elegance of its visual direction. It's a reminder that the creativity of your ideas and the solutions to the challenges of development are as valuable, if not more so, than the millions of dollars that a AAA production can dump into the technical quality of its textures and its lighting. So the premise of the game is that children all over the world are falling into comas. There's no apparent reason why. The situation's becoming a global crisis, and you play as one of these children that's just fallen into a coma. Turns out there's a demon, and he's pulling these children's souls into the netherworld of the game. Feeds off of their life force while they're trapped there. He misplaces this tuning fork device that he uses to manipulate his little netherworld, and it becomes the player's tool for saving the other children and escaping his clutches. Technically, it's a horror game because it has that sort of unsettling backstory there, although the game never really indulges the common cliches of the genre. You'll hear the voices of trapped children calling for help, crying for their parents. You have the demon holding these sort of deranged conversations with himself, and that's the majority of the creepiness. I kind of think of the game as more along the lines of a children's fable. It's got this good versus evil, light and darkness dichotomy thing going along. It's like a Grimm's fairy tale almost. Much like Narbacular Drop, which was later designed into Portal after Valve hired some of those students to create the game many are familiar with today, Devil's Tuning Fork is mostly a proof of concept. It's a very short game. It manages to introduce multiple uses for its echolocation mechanic to demonstrate the potential of the design. You start out with simply using sound waves to visualize the world, and then you start shooting concentrated sound waves to ring bells that open doors or activate platforms. Later, you begin using a different type of sound wave to detect trapped panels on the floors of certain rooms. I think I'm most fond of bouncing the waves off of mirrors to trigger gongs. I like the extra thought that goes into having the player try to angle sound waves properly so they'll bounce off each and every mirror. If you're curious about the process the students went through while designing this game's visual aesthetic, I've included a link to a developer video they made years ago that covers all of that. And so for the last minute or two, I'll just leave you to the game's sound and nothing more.